There are 4 primary areas that I'll address this evening, and those areas are historically what's happened with the 2 districts up to the current point, efficiencies that have occurred through whole grade sharing that would continue to occur through reorganization, incentives for sharing, and thus incentives for reorganization that are provided at the Department of Education, or at the state level, long-range planning, and what that might look like for the district. As well, at the end, I will address just briefly the directors and means of election and those that was mentioned by Danielle. The district, for people in the audience who had experience or have lived in the district for a long time, know that for many, many years there have been some kinds of sharing off and on between the 2 school districts. Many years ago, special education programs were shared in the county, and I was a teacher at the Lakeview Auburn District at that time and remember there being some shared teachers. I think a lot of people in the 2 communities, or the 4 communities, the 2 districts, would remember Ag Education as being a program that had kind of a longevity to it that was shared between the 2 districts with SAC students coming to Lakeview Auburn. 8 years ago, it just happened that the 4 superintendents in the county, Shayla Cressland, Oda Arthur, SAC, and Lakeview Auburn, were all new to the districts that they came to. Some of us had experience, but we were new to those schools. And we met as a group of 4 superintendents and spent quite a lot of time through that year talking about what might be some possibilities for ways that we could look at sharing within the county with those 4 school districts. We came to some agreement and presented some information to the 4 school districts in the county. And we talked about an east-west combination of schools. East would mean SAC and Lakeview Auburn. West would have been Oda Arthur, Shayla Cressland. And then we talked about a north-south arrangement that would have been a Shayla Cressland SAC arrangement and an Oda Arthur, Lakeview Auburn arrangement. And at that time, I think there was probably that might have been sort of the instigation or the impetus that really caused a lot of conversation. And we talked about what would a high school look like, where might it be, where would those schools be with those kinds of arrangements. As that all filtered out over time, SAC and Lakeview Auburn continued to talk. Residents of Oda Arthur talked some about they were looking to the west at Battle Creek Ida Grove, which is now a school district, a whole grade sharing district for its first year. And Shayla Cressland was looking at directions other than back toward the east, and they're currently talking with Gal Holstein related to whole grade sharing. So in those conversations between SAC and Lakeview Auburn, we were lucky enough to have our music teachers come forward and say, you know, we would like to be a shared program. And we started out really moving students back and forth with music, and then we also had some activities that we started to share. Middle school football, for instance, where we each had smaller numbers of students, and together we could at least field a 7th grade and an 8th grade team. We added to that in subsequent years, before whole grade sharing occurred, auto tech, health science, industrial tech, and ag science. And you're well aware, I'm sure, as board members, that every school district has a need for high quality vocational technical programs, but there are costs associated with those that there aren't associated with traditional core classrooms. And it really was an advantage for both districts to be able to share those programs. 3 years ago, we began whole grade sharing, and we currently have 2 elementary buildings. Lake has a preschool through 4th grade building, and all the students in the Lakeview Auburn district stay at that elementary. Sac City has an elementary, preschool through 4th grade, and all SAC elementary students stay in that elementary building. And the only SAC students that might travel to Lakeview Auburn's elementary building, or the elementary at Lake, would be preschool special education students, because it's the only place in the district that we do have a preschool special ed shared program. The middle school is at this building, it's 5th through 8th grade, and the high school is at Lakeview, which is 9th through 12th grade. The combined district adopted the name East Sac County. It was really through a district-wide effort in both districts. And one of the things the boards were very concerned about and really rather adamant about is they wanted a name for a district that might give someone, at least in western Iowa or northwestern Iowa, an idea of where the heck was the school. You could be Prairie Ridge, or we had all sorts of suggestions for names, but nobody would have any idea. So we really thought that it had something to do with Sac County, and it turned out that this is the kind of suggestion that seemed positive, and we had community input. So we've been called the East Sac County Schools, and now we're beginning our third year of whole grade sharing. The efficiencies that we've been able to realize as a result of whole grade sharing. In some ways I'd call them efficiencies, but in other words, in another way I would call them opportunities that have come as a result of us being a whole grade sharing district. Some things that have happened, both at the time that we established whole grade sharing, we had some attrition, we had some retirement, and we've been able to do some of that without it being painful. Last year we reduced some staff. It was a little painful. And in all of that, though, at the current time, we have not had to reduce programs. And I think we'd be relatively certain that each board Sac and Wall Lake Auburn would admit that if we had reduced that number of staff members over the last 3 or 4 years, as individual districts, programs would have potentially been jeopardized. Other sharing that the district does. For the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to be the shared superintendent for Sac and Wall Lake Auburn. For the last 3 years, we've shared a business manager who focuses on HR duties, so does payroll, things like insurance, payroll, leaves. We thought it was important that we had one person that communicated those kinds of important information to employees. For the last 2 years, we've shared a transportation director. One of the things that we've tried hard to do is when people choose to leave the district, is that a position that can be shared. We each had a transportation director up to that point. It hadn't been our goal to terminate one. Someone retired, and it's now a shared position. This year, we've approved sharing a director of food service and part-time buildings and grounds personnel. Although whole grade sharing involves only 5th through 12th grade, we also share the following teachers: elementary art, elementary vocal music, talented and gifted, elementary physical education, an elementary counselor, an elementary principal, a technology coordinator, and we currently have a 21 quarter-time curriculum director, and that person is shared. We also share all activities, meaning coaches and sponsors for activities. With our programs, I think that any of our faculty who are at our high school and many community members will tell you that we're very proud to say that we have 6 very strong vocational technical programs. We've been lucky enough to be affiliated with Iowa Central Community College. They're very supportive and good to us, and we have lots of students that participate in those courses. Individually, we would not be able to offer those. Currently, we offer auto tech, health science, business ed, industrial technology, ag science, and family and consumer science. We also offer each semester 12 to 15 courses of college credit, with credit being established through Iowa Central Community College, and I can assure you that that would never happen if the 2 of us were separate school districts. Each of us would be able to offer a few of those courses, but we would have to be involved in some sort of sharing with someone for us to be able to have that kind of offering for our students to take. Other areas of sharing. We share an alternative school, and we've done that for quite a long time with Shaler Cressman. It's a necessary piece of what we do at the high school level, and we appreciate that Shaler Cressman is interested in sharing that program with us. All of our professional development has been shared for 4 years. We have a common school calendar and have had for 4 years. All of our board policies are identical, and actually by the time we were ready to whole grade share, nearly all of those were common. Our handbooks have been common from the beginning of our whole grade sharing. This year we'll be applying for an innovative calendar jointly for the 2010-11 school year. Our master contracts are not identical. I would say about half of the contracts at the current time have identical language, but we've worked at doing that each year in negotiations. And we are proud to say that we have a Schedule B, which is our coaching and sponsor contract, that is an identical contract in the 2 districts. What have incentives for sharing done for us? Incentives, in some way, in my estimation, are not only the financial incentives that each district can reap from sharing and the savings that districts can incur, but it would be my responsibility in the leadership position I'm in to see academics as certainly an incentive for sharing.